Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight we have a late night insight on a Spirit of Dubai fragrance. And if you've been following the channel, you know that I have reviewed many Spirit of Dubais, the entire first generation, thanks to a friend, a perfume god person who sent me the entire set. It is right here. The whole first generation set I have a video on each one of the fragrances. And now I've reviewed a couple from the second generation as well. And the second generation is extremely expensive. Some of the most expensive fragrances I've ever smelled. I've now reviewed Boz, D1, and now today we are going to review a fragrance called Narjesi. And Narjesi, let me just tell you, the bottle itself is made up of a real rose on top of the cap. And the rose, it has, treated in some way where, it's a black rose, and they sparkle diamond dust on top of it. So I was all geared up to hate this fragrance, okay, from the get-go, from the whole presentation, which some might look at that and say, oh, but it's so beautiful and expertly crafted. And I'm just thinking, man, how much money of the $1,295 for 90 mil is going towards that presentation? And so I was all geared up to despise the fragrance. And Narjesi, so if you don't know, Spirit of Dubai fragrances from the first to the second generation have similarities to each other. They actually are supposed to share some sort of common thread. And Narjesi is supposed to share a thread with the black fragrance of the first generation, which is a fragrance called Fahama. Fahama, oh, and I just dropped it. There it is. Okay, so there you go. Fahama. Go check out my review on this one. I liked it, but I'll tell you right off the bat, no questions asked. And there were some of these where I was like, you know what? Maybe the first generation really is better. The second generation isn't that much of a step up. Narjesi is the exact opposite. Narjesi is a huge step up from Fahama as far as I'm concerned. In fact, leaving out stuff like Russian Adams, Malik Al Taif, and those type of rose fragrances where, they're just on another level. Those type of rose fragrances. I reviewed a pure rose oil from Ensar, Japanese rose. That type of stuff is, on another level. And so, but comparing this to, let's say, designers, this is top 5, one of the best rose fragrances I've ever smelled, hands down. And I'll tell you, like I said, it really had to take something to punch me out of my comfort zone with this, because many of the Spirit of Dubai fragrances that I've smelled, even though they all have a million notes, they're all extremely expensive, I've noticed that a lot of the accords and, the way that the notes blend together start to smell somewhat similar. It's almost like you can pick out a Spirit of Dubai fragrance. This is completely different. If you blindfolded me and put this under my nose, and I didn't know it was a Spirit of Dubai, I probably would not guess it's a Spirit of Dubai, because the quality is higher than what I've come to expect from the brand, which is sad to say when you're talking about fragrances that retail for $1,295 for 90 mil. But it's true. I mean, it's, I feel like they're trying to be like the Rouge Dove of the Middle East, if you will. And I'll read you the little blurb, and I'll tell you sort of how I feel and why I love it so much. And it's sort of a simple story. These late night insight videos are not meant to go into too much depth. They're meant to just sort of give you a quick undertaking of the fragrance and how I feel, because, I don't own a bottle. I probably would never own a bottle, and not at those prices, not unless a bottle fell in my lap for $100 or something. It's just, I'm done buying those type of extremely expensive fragrances. There's just no need. I have so many fragrances to wear that I love, and there's just very little reason for me to go spend this kind of money on a fragrance. However, this is full bottle worthy, I'll tell you that. If you're still in the accumulation phase of your collection and you want an amazing rose fragrance and you just can't find Malik Al Taif, like I can't find Malik Al Taif, or those type of just very rare, hard to find, one-off rose fragrances that are top of the mountain. So for me, what I did when I was building the collection is I decided to go for this. And this is Rose de Taif Extrait by Perris, Monte Carlo. The Extrait I think came out in 2015, but it's a lemony Taif rose, very high quality. And actually it shares some similarities with Narjesi, but I actually think Narjesi is better than this. But my problem is, why would I buy Narjesi when I have this, you know? So I would just probably wear this. Now, I could sell this and put the money towards buying Narjesi, but that's, you know, I'm happy with Rose de Taif. So that's sort of my just quick situation as far as how I feel about the fragrance. But is it full bottle worthy? 100%. So here's the blurb. The black rose, the rarest of flowers, is a real natural treated rose that is adorned with diamond dust, like I said earlier. There are only rumors of its existence. Narjesi embodies the timeless love that spans centuries and continents. The floral fragrance of Narjesi is distilled from rose Bulgarian, pure rose Taif oil, which is very expensive, Turkish rose, along with other oriental notes. And it says that black rose is a token of wild passion, deep eternal love, and emotion of purity. You know what? I'm going to spray this again just because I love this so much. And I have to give a special shout out to my good friend Paolo, who very kindly sent me this decant of Narjesi. I wouldn't be able to have reviewed these second generation Spirit of Dubai's without him. And you know, part of me really loves reviewing these fragrances because these type of fragrances, go check out my review of go check out my review of Royal Oud by Arabian Oud. Okay, Arabian Oud has a fragrance called Royal Oud, and it's $1,500 for the gift set with the oil, $700 with just the perfume, and I hated it. I bashed it. I did not like it. I didn't think it was worth the money. And the problem is I think most people, and I'm not tooting my own horn by any stretch, but I've smelled more fragrances than the average bear, and so many times, you know, when you watch these reviews, reviewers are awed by the price tag, is the way that I view it. They see the price and they just think, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing of all time. Many times that's not the case, in my experience. This is a situation where, this is a special situation, and this is not one that I would have expected to like. What's interesting, I was expecting to love Boz. And while I like Boz, it didn't really blow me away. Actually, Narjesi blows me away more than Boz. I'll tell you that right now. It's better than Boz. It's better than D1. This is the best. I think this is the best Spirit of Dubai fragrance from the second collection that I've smelled. Now, I have not smelled Abjar. I have not smelled Haiba. And I have not smelled Dura. Okay, so those are the three that I have not smelled yet from the second collection. But I did smell, they released a fragrance almost like just last year for the first collection. So it's like they backdated it for some reason. I don't really understand. And it was called Roya or something. I tested it in my blind sniff episode that I did live stream on Friday. And I did not like that at all. That was nowhere near the quality of this. But I like doing these videos because I feel like I can be maybe a little bit more honest than some of the other reviewers. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's not honesty. Maybe they really are starstruck by the dollar signs and how much the fragrance costs and all that. But a lot of times I'm able to shoot straight with you guys. And I feel like when I watch some of the other reviews on the very expensive fragrances, you don't get very much of that. You just get a lot of just drooling and, oh, it's so great, it's the best thing ever, and that kind of thing. And I'm going to say that about this fragrance because this really is impressive. Now, if you are not a rose lover, I would still urge you to smell this. And when I first smelled it, I'll tell you the very first thing that popped into my mind, the very first thing, is this. And you may say, what? That makes no sense. But this is the style of the fragrance. I can't explain it any better than this. The only thing I can do is show you sort of an example. If you've smelled Abbey Rouge, okay, and again, you're going to say, Abbey Rouge, what are you talking about? Well, think about the powdery, lemony rosewood in the top of Abbey Rouge, okay? So Abbey Rouge has this powdery, I actually sprayed it today for my Father's Day video, and the blotter's in my room. I took it in my room to smell it further. But if you've smelled sort of that very lemony, rosewood style opening of Abbey Rouge with that Guerlain underneath with the vanilla, right? that is a very similar style to how Narjesi opens, and maybe that's one of the reasons I love Narjesi so much, is it reminds me of one of my favorite masculine fragrances of all time. But I want you to imagine it in an Oriental, Middle Eastern style with the rose note amped up. That's basically Narjesi to me, smelling it. And for the first hour or so, what's so amazing, for the first hour to 2 hours actually, the rose is almost like uninterrupted. I mean, the rose just absolutely shines. And while there are other things going on, so for example, there's some fruity notes you're gonna get. You're gonna get a little bit of that Middle Eastern style saffron. So remember, think Abbey Rouge, but done in a Middle Eastern twist with a lot of rose, high quality rose oil. And so you're gonna get a little bit of like elemi and aldehydes and all of these other notes, and even the heavier notes, which come out later even more. So the heavier, like ambery notes will come out as the hours tick by. But in the opening, you're even going to get, like, right out of the gate, you're going to get a little bit of coffee. And I think the coffee note in Narjesi is much better done, because there's actually this like caramel coffee thing in Fajama as well. And I didn't care as much for that one. You can go check out my review. I thought it was okay, but it didn't move me like Narjesi did. And you're going to get like this vanilla berry thing, you know, this vanilla fruity thing. But it never gets in the way of the rose. It really, somehow, there's honey, there's chamomile, which is very like relaxing. There's patchouli, there's vetiver. You know, I could read you a note listing as long as my arm. And it wouldn't give you an idea of what it smells like. That's why I say, imagine, if you've ever smelled Abbey Rouge, imagine that lemoniness in the top. And, you know, Taif rose in general is my favorite rose oil. And it has this very fresh, lemony character. It can be slightly powdery, slightly tea-like almost in smell. Very relaxing, beautiful smell, just an absolutely gorgeous rose. My favorite rose. If you've ever seen pictures of Taif rose, the inside of the rose, those little yellow, I don't know what they're called. I don't know what the technical scientific name is, but you have the petals, you have the green sort of bulb that the rose sits in, and then you have these almost yellow, like, you know, protrusions sticking out in the middle of the flower. And the color of those yellow, those yellow bits of the flower is a great example of how the lemoniness of the fragrance smells. And so even though you're going to pick up a little bit of this, you know, sweet orange, a little bit of this spiciness, a little bit of coffee. And again, the coffee, it doesn't take over. It's not a heavy coffee note, but it just adds this, you know, Middle Eastern blend to it, if you will. The coffee in Oud Luwak, which I just reviewed a couple days ago, is bar none the best coffee of all time. This is just sort of just a little tiny hint of coffee, and then it starts to go away. But the pure Taif rose in the opening, oh, it just grabs you. I mean, it just absolutely grabs you. It's fantastic. And it's a note that I obviously love because, you know, Taif rose is one of my favorite. Malik Al Taif is like #1 on my Rouge L'Adoré list. I wish I could find a bottle. Even a partial, you know, something I wish I could find. It's impossible to find. But I'm still looking. That's the kind of stuff. If I was going to pay this kind of money, that's my problem, is I would just try to go spend an outrageous amount of money on Malik Al Taif, because I think it's far, far superior even to this. But when you're comparing this with the designer rose fragrances, okay, pick your other designer fragrances, whatever designer rose you love. I'll tell you a cheap designer rose I love that no one talks about, and you guys are going to laugh because it's not even in the same ballpark price-wise, but Moschino Toy Boy. This is a great masculine rose fragrance. As far as like a maybe designer cheapie that I could say, well, if you like the style of Narjesi, you could go for something like this. It's interesting. It's also black. Narjesi has that black rose. But obviously they're completely different fragrances, completely different price points, completely different everything. But, you know, My only beef, I only have one beef with the fragrance so far. And again, this is a true early impression. Even though it is on skin, it's a true early impression. This juice is extremely precious and expensive. But, you know, it's been on my skin now for about 4 hours, okay? And this is the 4 hour dry down. This is the one I just sprayed. So as the fragrance begins to dry, as the hours tick by, hour 2 turns into hour 3, turns into hour 4, it slowly starts to take on a little bit of this caramelized, ambery, vanillic, you know, honey thing, which is fine. You know, it's what I expect from Spirit of Dubai dry downs. That's what you get. You get these oriental heavy style fragrance. But even into the dry down, and this will, it seems like this is going to last forever. It seems like it's a beast. Even into the dry down, you can still make out the rose clear as day, but I just wish, and I know it's impossible, but I just wish the purity of that pure Taif rose in the top that you get for the first hour to 2 hours lasted into hours 3 and 4. That's my biggest beef. That's really one of my only beefs. And so, you know, I made some notes, but I think I pretty much just ad-libbed everything that I really wanted to say just off the top about Narjesi. There is a little bit of a castoreum and civet note listed in the note listing, but I don't get very much. I don't get very much animalics from this. I mean, maybe just the tiniest touch. I think this would smell absolutely stunning on a woman, and I think it would smell absolutely stunning on a man brave enough to pull this off. I would have no problem wearing this. Like, you know, something, I wear Lyric Man, I wear rose fragrances, as you can see from my, from the 2 I showed today. Rose de Taif and Moschino Toy Boy. I mean, these are rose, heavy, spicy. Well, this one's a spicy rose. This is like a lemony Taif rose fragrance, and I wear them, and I have no problem wearing them. Rose is a note that has grown on me. At first, I didn't really think I liked rose. In fact, I got a sample of Lyric Man, and I ended up giving it to my mother because I thought, no way could a man ever wear this early on in my journey. And then I kept thinking about it, and I came back to it, you know, and I ended up buying a bottle, of course, ultimately. But rose is one of those notes that you kind of have to grow into, if you will. But once it clicks, it's a very elegant note. You smell different from many other guys. It really sets you apart. This is a fragrance that, if I had a bottle, I would absolutely wear this. This is my kind of rose fragrance, and probably competing for the best Spirit of Dubai fragrances I've smelled, which is which just goes to show you can't judge a book by the cover, or in this case, the cap, because I always thought, looking at Boz, looking at some of these other fragrances, that they would be the ones that I would most, you know, go towards, but it's really the black sheep, the black rose of the family that that really grabbed me and took me. And not that I'm in the market for a rose fragrance, but if I was and I didn't have all of this and I had just, you know, a bag of money to blow, Narjesi is quality juice. I can tell you that. They did a fantastic job with Narjesi. It maybe into the dry down you can pick up that Spirit of Dubai DNA, if you will, but it really does smell different from many of the Spirit of Dubai fragrances that I've smelled. It just doesn't have that Spirit of Dubai DNA that seems to be so prevalent among many of the other fragrances from the house. And so, yeah, just imagine like a earthy, spicy, but always focused on that lemony rose that smells so high quality. The oil in here really does smell extremely natural. That was one of my beefs with many of the other Spirit of Dubai fragrances, is that some of the notes in there, you know, like the ouds, for example, that they used, especially in some of the first generation fragrances, just didn't seem as high quality as you would expect from something so expensive. And here, there actually is a note of oud, but it's really relegated to the background It's a big background player. This is not an oud-centered fragrance. This is a rose-centered fragrance, and the oud just sort of plays a supporting role. It's sort of like a skeleton. It's the backbone. It works as maybe a little bit of a backbone is my guess, but I think what works as even more of a backbone is the sandalwood, this woodiness, this ambery woodiness comes out in the dry down. Leather, I'm not getting very much leather yet, although maybe it's just sort of part of the overall, composition. When you have as many notes as the Spirit of Dubai fragrances have, it's really hard to segregate one note and just sort of try and pick it out because it's all blended together. But I can tell you that this is one that is a dark horse. It's a dark rose. I think it's fantastic for men. But I think that if you're a guy and you're in the market for a rose fragrance and you don't own Lyric Man and you don't own the ones that I showed and these other rose heavy fragrances, Dolce & Gabbana, the one Mysterious Nights is a fantastic rose fragrance as well. If you don't have any of those and you're kind of looking for a very high quality rose fragrance to set yourself apart, Narjesi is one that I can definitely recommend trying to sniff, try to get your nose on it, try to get yourself a little sample like I did. Obviously you can't blind buy this, it's way too expensive, but yeah, I think this is very interesting stuff, very interesting, and special shout out to my brother Paolo for sending this along. If you've smelled Narjesi, do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you agree, disagree with me. Even at discounters, $600-700 for something like this still seems just very overpriced, even though it's beautiful. It just seems a big ask. It's a tall ask for a fragrance. At least nowadays with my collection, it just seems like that type of money could be spent so much better elsewhere. But yes, let me know what your thoughts are on Narjesi. If you have experience with the Spirit of Dubai, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So do leave a comment. I do try to respond to every single comment that gets left. It's a pleasure doing these videos for you guys. I hope this helps somebody out there. Again, just think Abbey Rouge style, Oriental style, Abbey Rouge with a lot of rose added to the composition, and that'll get you in the ballpark with that Spirit of Dubai DNA. It's very, very good. Spot on. Very, very much enjoyed getting to wear this. It's a pleasure getting to know it. So, thanks again, Paolo. Thank you for watching. Cheers, everyone. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.